Hello everyone, welcome to the Deeply Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deeply Renegade. I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 134. Today is Sunday, May 8th, 2016, and I'm glad you could join me today. And I forgot to take a sip of coffee before beginning. Fixed. Yay. Normally I take a nice big slurp because I always make hot, fresh coffee when I get ready to record, and generally an episode is about a cup, so I actually drink coffee a little bit faster while recording than when I do when I'm not recording. Because normally it takes me about like an hour to drink a cup of coffee and stuff like that, but yeah, such is life. It is super duper tasty today. I don't know why. It's a little bit glum today. Hopefully the lawnmower noise isn't too crazy, but we'll see how it goes. It seemed to be like a little blustery, so I wasn't sure if it was gonna suddenly start raining or something like that. It's supposed to rain today. It's looking ominous, but not like super ominous, just sort of ominous. And I am on a covered porch, so it's not like it's a big deal anyways. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. I'm committed now. I'm recording. Welcome. So the first thing I wanted to show you guys was my progress on the Hitafude. This is from, what is it? Why am I forgetting the name of the designer? She sells her patterns under Don't Eat the Daisies, and I've been slowly but surely working on this. I think I got another repeat in this week, but in terms of being able to be ready to make the sleeves, these are little Barbie sleeves still. Maybe American Girl. I think the consensus was at knitting that they were American Girl doll size sleeves right now, and they were not Molly sleeves yet. But I still have several repeats to go before I'm in the ballpark there, but I think I understand a little bit better what the pattern is going to be asking me to do when the time comes, which is not now. So seems to be getting to a brighter teal than what I have been working on, but it doesn't seem to be showing that quite on the sweater yet. And we'll see how awkward or not this ends up being. Because one thing that I was realizing was that my yarn usage is going to be pretty high for the sleeve area, which is fine because teal by my face, I'm pretty happy about that. But it'll really very clearly outline how it's been constructed if I get into the purple before the sleeves are done. So that was the only thing that was sort of interesting to me, but this has been getting a little bit of love, but not a lot of love. I probably just need to find a good way to stick it into a bag, and it will get carried around a little bit more. Super duper sad thing happened this week. On Wednesday, I left the house without knitting, because projects were in bags and they were out of bags, or they were in whatever little project bags, but they were not in my knitting bag, so I managed to quick grab the master knitting bag, the one to rule them all, and I did not have this project nor my other project actually in that little guy, or in the big knitting bag that rules them all, which I forgot to bring out right now. So I can, on one hand, it would be a little bit easier if this was in a bag because it's big and whatnot. But there is the danger of not having it when you really need it, so such is life. The other project, which actually had sadly quite a bit of negative knitting done upon it, is my that isn't gonna go very well. So the little ball dropped out of the bag I've been keeping it in, which is making it a little bit more challenging to figure out where it went. Okay. All rejiggered. So, The other project I'm working on is the hand-spun citron, and there's been some negative knitting done. And why has there been negative knitting done? I thought I could start the ruffle, but I started the ruffle too soon. And I'd rather use as much yarn as humanly possible on this guy. So, I'm making one more ruching section before I start the ruffle again. It was just too soon. I was calculating the yarn usage and how much I had done already, and it was going to be 60 rows. Something got in my coffee. Something may have died in my coffee, but whatever. I got it out. So, it was going to be, so for reference, this is 60 rows. So from here to the end is 60 rows, and that was just going to be a demented amount. And so what I would really like would be something like this, or maybe a little bit less, I don't know. And the only way to make that work was to actually wait a little bit longer on the ruffle. So I'm going to, I ripped it all back, I got the stitches doubled again, I'm making the ruching section on this guy. But I was like 6 rows into the ruffle before realizing that it was just not going to go. But this is how much knitting I got done, so I got done with another segment this week, and then started in the ruffle, and the ruffle was not going to go. So I will shift the marker over now. So that was a bit of a bummer, but I was sort of prepared for that. I was trying to measure to see my yarn usage so I could calculate the ruffle length appropriately. And there was apparently some wishful thinking. It's the case where, what was it? So it was using less than a gram of yarn per, each row was taking less than a gram of yarn. So even on the doubled, probably more than 1,000 stitches end of things. So the fact that I had like 38 grams of yarn reserved for the ruffle didn't seem to act like that was just going to be way too much, way too many rows of ruffle in order for it to look proportional and that sort of thing. So, so I was a little bit bummed because I ended up working on this quite a bit yesterday, and then when I ended up getting home realizing that it was just unrealistic and that I needed to rip back quite a lot. So it seems like I've got everything remounted nicely and the stitches are back to the doubled, because the way I doubled for the ruffle was I actually doubled everything and then I wasn't going to increase anymore. And that was probably going to also look pretty funny on on the shawl if I was going to have like 60 ruffle rows. So that just wasn't going to make any sense. So so I will knit my 20 rows, which won't necessarily use, it'll bring the ruffle into probably a more reasonable 40 row range, which even then that might actually be quite a lot of ruffle, because what I want it to be is like probably the correct amount of ruffle is a segment, but the further along I get on the shawl, the more stitches per row that ends up taking. Because what is it? You add 6 stitches, so you add 6 stitches every 2 rows. Yeah, which means that every segment is bringing you, every segment is giving you um, 60 stitches, 60 more stitches per the repeat. So I think something like that, whatever. So it ends up adding up. So that would mean that my 10 rows, or what is it, my 10 segments probably added up to something close to 600 stitches undoubled, 1200 stitches doubled, and I'm going to add another 60 stitches, which will bring it to whatever. So I'll have 11 segments instead of 10. So, but definitely quite a lot of stitches on this right now. I've finally sort of reached the point where it's like, this project is so big, this is ridiculous. But it's also incredibly mindless, so it's really easy to pick up and put back down. So in that regard, it's a win. It was very nice for actually walking around the art district. So I ended up going on a trip to the arts district yesterday with a friend, and we were wandering around and reading all of the plaques. And it's always very nice when you're going to someone who has the same museum aesthetic as you, and we both like reading all of the signs. If you are with someone who does not like reading the signs, then they can be very grumpy about this. But yeah, such is life. So, but the rows are taking an extremely long time now, so that hurts a little bit. It also hurts to rip stuff back, but I was trying to find the right number for ruffle proportions, and maybe it's the case where my ruffle proportions are off because the shawl itself is a little bit ruffly, so oh well. And I don't think a 2x2 ruffle would look quite right, so oh well. Nah. So this is coming along, but what was it? I did the 20%, and the 20% was just going to be sort of crazy, so I think it's sort of the case where you want your ruffle to be on the scale of like a pattern repeat, maybe? In which case I need to do 2 pattern repeats. Yeah. Before launching into the final ruffle. We'll see. I'll figure it out when the time comes. I think I'm okay with having a 2 pattern repeat long ruffle though. And I'll put that down, because I could just babble on and on and on, and I'm not sure there's much content there. Excuse me. I had a tickle in my throat. Reaching for coffee. So, on the spinning front, I did get some spinning done. But not a crazy amount of spinning. I think I was mostly focused on the shawl this week. But this is where I stand right now on the fiber optics. So I'm almost got the pink all covered up. But I'm still very much so in the navy section of the fiber, which is attached. So you can see that over here is the teal, but the navy is still, I still have probably another foot of the navy to go before it begins to become more teal. And I don't think I'm to the halfway point yet on this guy either, so yeah. But it has gone at least a little bit of love this week. That was probably whatever I ended up sort of piling all of my knitting and spinning projects around me, which is why I forgot my knitting on Wednesday. Because Tuesday night I was just sort of fickle and couldn't figure out what in the world it was that I wanted to do. The other thing that has gotten some love is the silk hankies. That rolled away. I'll have to go fetch that. So, this is Fremzen Fiber, and I am not even necessarily really done spinning the one I'm working on. It was the case where I ended up getting it all prepped up on Friday, and then didn't necessarily leave myself enough time to actually get through it. So I prepped up 4 hankies in order to spin it on Friday, but I didn't start until it was too late. So, or too late to spin them all in one go. So that isn't too crazy, but it's made for a bit of a mess in my bag. But I'm definitely liking how it's a bit easier to get going on this if the fiber's already ready to go. So I have a pile of fiber for my my blues, and then I have a pile of fiber for my greens on this that are sitting where I've been hanging out and knitting lately, which is nice. Keeps me going on things. And then I decided to leave the pile there because I didn't necessarily want to do funny things with the fiber. But then I ended up doing funny things with the fiber anyways because I prepped up more than I could reasonably spin. But I sort of want to keep the numbers reasonably in line, or whatever. Like, how I'm keeping count is I'm keeping count by how many I have, or the way that I'm keeping count is by how many that are prepped up, and just making sure that I spin what I have prepped up. And if I am only prepping up partial amounts, I think that's why this one has been a little bit more challenging, because it's a little bit harder to get through 6 hankies instead of 3 hankies, or to get through 4 hankies or 2 hankies or that sort of thing. So that's where I stand. But I don't know, it seems like I still have a pretty sizable amount of the I have a pretty sizable amount of the first green part to go, so this will probably take some time. That totally just unknotted itself. So silk is funny. As soon as you get twisted into it, it does not want to stick to itself anymore, which is a problem when getting things to be attached. So, oh well. So it's coming along. This is my February to spin the bin. The fiber optic is my March spin the bin, and they're both not halfway yet. But you can see, say for example here, so this is one of the bits that I had prepped up, so I'm through my full color progression. But it will take at least a little bit of time in order to get to that point, so. But it certainly is very pretty. I'm really digging the colors quite a lot in this one. The other one is much more contrasty, and these are very, very harmonious and very, very bright. So it'll be interesting to see how the yarn comes together. If I start sampling it and I don't like how things are looking, maybe I will end up chain plying them. We shall see. Da, 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 da. But what is it? The unfortunate thing is that I'm getting to the point now where, what is it? My weekends aren't going to be as, or there's going to be a lot more demands on my time, starting approximately last week. So, so I'm not going to have as much fun knitting time as I have been having. Which, on days of most ultimate laziness like today, I'll need to kick my butt into gear pretty soon because there are things I have to do. But I wanted to record while the sky was bright, so so I guess I will have to pay for that one when the time comes. But yeah, we'll see how all of that comes together, and whether or not anything needs to change on that front. Hopefully not, but we'll see. What else? So I probably will not be recording next week, and I will be recording the week after that. Whatever, going on trips, so that makes it hard when your recording day is your travel day, so yeah, whatever. And I still haven't quite figured out how I'm going to meter out the podcasts. What is it? How I'm gonna meter out the podcasts in whatever the month of June, because there's some funniness in June as well. But yeah, we'll figure something out. Probably a lot less spinning then. Let's see. Anything else I needed to remind? So, since I'm not finishing anything until May 28th for Stash Dash, we'll see how that goes. It doesn't look like I'm in danger of finishing anything before then anyways. Probably the closest thing would be the shawl, and I'm definitely want that for my Stash Dash yardage. And I'll probably end up doing some repairs to knitting for Stash Dash as well, so that will probably make things add up as well. So, anything else? Nothing I can think of. So, with that, I hope you guys all have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you again in 2 weeks. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.